he had unfortunately not gotten onto the podium at all in any championships since 2022. You can even go back to 2021 when he was at the Olympics, only made the semifinals. He was still very, very young, but I think he did exceed expectations or meet certain people's expectations. And I think he did it in very emphatic fashion. He was the only one to go under. He was the only one to run 9.7, right? That to me showed that, all right, Oblique met the moment, and to a degree, the other people behind him didn't perform up to expectations. Because, like I said, Kashane Thompson was and still is he's ending the year as the world leader, running 9.75. Noah Lyles obviously won gold last year at the Olympics running 9.7, and he was kind of trending in that direction.
Again, we're in the Noah Lyles era, and it's not an opinion, it's a fact. And the
Mm-hmm.
fact is, no one else wins multiple gold medals in this era except him. When the era started, the moment Bolt walked off the track. That's when it started. So him winning this one, because a lot of people had Noah, but a lot of people didn't. And it depends on how they felt. Because we were trying to create all these different narratives around why he wouldn't get it. But I don't think we realized how talented he really was. And by that I mean we as the collective track community just still doesn't get it because he's not Bolt. They don't realize he's the best thing you got since him. I think that's the hard part to digest.
Paulino literally ran 47 seconds. In any other world, that literally would have won gold in any other world. Every single other championships. That 47.98 that Paulino ran broke the championship record. That would have been the second fastest time of all time.
Hey, this is how Tyson Gay felt.
Exactly. That's literally Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone has essentially reasserted herself as one of the greatest, not only athletes, but track and field athletes of all time, not only of this generation, but of all time, where she came in to the 2025 World Championships as the GOAT of the 400-meter hurdles, Olympic gold medals, World Championship golds, world records. She's done all that. Came here, took on a whole new challenge, and not only won a gold medal against a very, very high quality field, took down some of the best athletes in the event in the 400, but also ran one of the fastest times in history, almost breaking the world record in the 400, a new event that she had not actually contested at the World Championships. So, based on what we just saw at these Tokyo World Championships from Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone, I guess the question is, where do we see this going in terms of her career, and what else is there for her to actually do? Because she just took this event apart.
Well, your first question was, where do we see this going? And to clarify for all the people at home, for the people in the back, what we're discussing is the Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone situation. Where is it headed? So it's going to go wherever she wants it to go. That's the first part. That's the first part of it. Because we're at that point where she's in uncharted water for almost any athlete. Because all the other athletes who are on that top rung of American track and field right now, especially we're talking about the track events,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's Noah Lyles, Sha'Carri Richardson, they're in that top rung of attention. The difference
Mm-hmm.
is Sha'Carri has a whole bunch more to win. That's just a fact. It's a very clear LA 2028, go win that. Am I wrong?
Yeah, makes
Objective
sense.
one,
Makes sense.
same deal. Just on straight talent, clearly there's more stuff for you to go get. Noah, there's still more stuff for you to go get. And for Sydney, for who she is and what, there's nothing else to go get. She already did all the things that if you checked all those boxes by the end of your career, you'd say, I had a full career.
She can
And she's
retire
not,
right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now she's inventing stuff. That's what it is. The 400 was already that. It was already doing the Uncharted, doing the extra to see how far we can go. And then she checked that box. So now the question is, what's next? But let's just sit back with the race.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want you can share more of your perspective. But for me watching, when I saw the semifinal, and hey, I was covering it and put my videos out, and I was like, I thought she was gonna win anyway, but I didn't think she was gonna show her hand. And I don't think she meant to show her hand like that. Because what
Mm-hmm.
happened was, and I think it makes the movie even that much better in terms of the storybook ending. Because what happened is Nasser and Paulino went to sleep. And when they did, they knew they had to run the race of their lives. They had no choice. if they was going to win gold. And they did. They did run the race of their lives and they still lost.
That
And
that
that's
that's
why it's like, oh, like you see what I'm saying? Like you can't make this stuff up. Because I thought there was a world where I thought she would win in 48-4. That was the world I
hmm
was prepared
hmm
to live in.
hmm
And there was a world where I thought she would lose and run 48-3. And then the world we ended up living in was 48-29 in the semifinal. And again, we have history because this was not a she ran too fast in the semi. This was, we've seen this woman break world records before across 400 meters with barriers. So there's no reason to believe the train don't got more gas in it and won't keep rolling.
Yeah.
And it did. So I think so it's just like I think that's just my perspective in terms of like
Yeah.
from the semi to the final. And then I stood up. Like I'm watching the TV and stood up and like this is really happening. Like this is really about to happen. She's on the home straight. I'm like, it's really about to happen. Cause I was like, oh
Yeah.
Nasser, you out.
Yeah.
So
Which
like when she was behind at 300, I was like, this is over.
that's the crazy thing because I obviously I didn't have her winning the gold entering the championships. I thought Paulino Nasser were going to finish ahead, right? I did think it would be close, but I didn't think I was saying just based on the season has gone, I thought Paulino Nasser were still going to be maybe a step ahead. But after the semifinals, I think that was like because like you said, I don't think she even expected. Well, I definitely know she didn't expect to run that fast. Like that was the American record. You had the broadcast. You had people, I'm obviously in the stadium. Like everyone's going crazy, and we didn't think she was going to run that fast. But it was a semifinal, so she still had to go into the final and execute. And when you got to that final, it almost seemed like everything everything was in line for things to go right where you had Sydney in the middle. She was inside of Nasser, and then Paulino was on the outside in lane 9. So she was able to track them. It was like, all right, she's had not only run this 48.2, but now she has her competition on the outside to chase. Seemed very, very clear that she was going to be able to get this gold medal. But I didn't even think she was going to run this fast, 47.78, because it was also raining. It was like really raining on the track. There was a long, long wait. I don't know what it looked like on TV, but in the stadium, like there was a long wait and she was standing there. I mean, obviously all the athletes were standing there, but Sydney was like standing there. The camera goes onto her and she's like locked in, no expression, just like focused. And then we see the race actually play out. And as you said, Paulino literally ran 47 seconds. In any other world, that literally would have won gold in any other world. Like every single other championships. That 47.98 that Paulino ran broke the championship record. Like that would have been the second fastest time of all time.
Hey, this is how Tyson Gay felt.
Exactly. Exactly.
But
That's literally it. But
but
Sydney just proved
do you
that
think
she's
she
the
would have
best.
do you think she would have ran that fast if Sydney wasn't there? Because I don't.
I don't. I actually don't. Based on how it unfolded, I don't I don't know if I don't know if Sydney would have run as fast as she did as well if Paulino and Nasser like I think there's a
Well, she
mental
ran
game.
fast in that semi, so that's why I
Well,
don't. I
I
don't. Maybe
think
not as fast, but almost as fast because she ran
yeah,
by herself before.
yeah. I think Sydney would have run like 47.9, 47.8. I don't know if she would have run 47.7 because there's like regardless of like obviously I think she's on pace, in the future to break the world record. But I think there's still a mental game of like okay, if I don't run this fast, I could get caught. That's like maybe playing in her mind where it's like, because Paulino ran blind and she ran 47.9. Sydney knows that in her mind of like, Paulino's going to go out. So she has to run as fast as possible. And even like you said, Nasser was like not even in, it's crazy to say she wasn't in the conversation and she ran 48.1. But coming off the curve, she wasn't in the conversation. But Paulino was not too far behind from Sydney, so Sydney still did have to push. But obviously, Sydney proved that she is one of one. Like she is the absolute goat. Like yeah,
I said it before in jest, but I'm doubling down on it. When Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone runs, I'm going back to the Grand Slam track Miami moment where my production assistant is like, "Oh, we're about to watch greatness." When she like when she's about to race and like everybody just kind of on edge, unlike any other race that we had while we were there. And it's because it's like, oh, this is the moment. And I guess what I'm really, angling at is she's turned track and field for better or for worse, and they're the for worse on this. She turned
Mm.
it into no longer even traditional sport competition. Her runs are quite literally just like a skateboard run or a figure skating run, where she's going out there to do the best trick. And at that point, can you match it? And the answer is, of course you can't. So as a result, she's only, it's again, that's why I said it was the Tony Hawk 900 analogy. He was not competing with the other guys at that point. He was just trying to land the 900 because he knew he could. Matter of fact, he landed it after the competition. He kept trying it and they let him stay on the vert ramp because everybody wanted to see someone land this impossible trick. And then he finally did. And it was like, so we just witnessed it. The moment happened. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, Sydney is in that class where she's her running that's why I say she didn't need them there to run fast because she showed us she didn't need them there to run fast before. They needed her there because I honestly think, using Paulino as an example, she is such a competitor in the four. This is how I understand her races. That's how, again, I could be wrong, could be wrong. This is how I perceive it. I perceive her races as she sees the field, she measures the field and says, I think I'm better than y'all. And I'm going to run this race with respect to how you play, like, almost like playing defense. Let me see what move you got. And then I'm gonna make sure that when it's my time to close this door, I'm gonna close it. When Sydney put the fear of everything in her and Nasser with that semi, everything changed in that final because she ran it in lane 9, couldn't see anybody, and said, "This is gonna have to be the time trial of my life."
Literally, literally.
There is no run off the field. And
Yeah.
then, and the last part, because I'll back up. Remember, look at how Nasser and Paulino ran their first 2 rounds compared to how Sydney ran hers. They were just trying to get to the final because they in history historically speaking, that's all they had to do. If I'm in this final, I'm gonna out talent the rest of y'all. But this time, they got to the final, and the lane they were in mattered now.
Hmm.
For the first time in, they can probably remember in being this echelon of talent where they felt like this actually makes a difference now. Like Paulina being all the way out, you mentioned, it mattered.
Yeah. She
Because
doesn't run
that,
that fast if she's in any other lane, in my opinion.
yeah, you
Like
think she would have just
Paulino.
misjudged it and like thought she would have picked up more steam than she did, and then might have been like, I just can't get him because she
Yeah.
was there.
I think if Paulino was, let's say Sydney was in like lane 6 and Paulino was in lane 5, Paulino, I don't think Paulino runs that fast because Sydney would have been gone. Like she would have she would have been gone. And then Paulino would have had in her mind, okay, just like you broke down, I'm gonna catch her. I'm gonna run her down like I've done in these other races against like Nasser and stuff. But she wouldn't have been able to. She was forced to say, I'm doing a time trial, right? But regardless, I mean, Sydney, and I might argue that Sydney in lane 9 might have broken the world record because then at that point, she's like, okay, now I really have the time trial. Now there's no, I can't even think about anybody else. I literally have to run as fast as possible. So who knows? But I mean, yeah, Sydney has put herself in a realm where at this point, she's stepping on the track and she's just running for history. She's just running like all these other things. We didn't even see her run any race between USA's and World Championships. And I think you might have mentioned it
Yeah.
in our preview where it's like she said she was training with one of the male sprinters from UCLA. Like that was she was using someone to do time trials in practice. And that's what she was, gauging things off
Hey,
of,
it was
which
higher
led to a
quality
performance
than
like this.
anything she was going to get in any of those races.
Yeah, you give her someone who's a guy who's literally running, even if he's just running 46, right? Like that's all she
Even if he's
needs.
running 47s.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Like
Even if he's running
she
47s.
just needed like a low level D1 conference champion or a mid tier D2 conference champion.
D2
That's all
guy.
she needed. And that was enough because that's still better than what the other women are doing. So as a result, it's like, okay, fine. I can actually run this competitively. And she probably did lose some of them. like
Yeah.
straight up, and that was
Yeah.
okay because she can't run with like Vernon Norwood and them. Like them guys would leave her. So
Well, yeah.
like she has to run with people who it's like you got to actually try,
Hmm.
but like they could still get her. But okay, so the real question is, what's next for Sydney? Because this is
Yeah.
in the books. This happened. You said the 400 hurdles. She beat that game. You know the cheat codes have been changed. It's done. So like
And
you can't even
it,
play this game anymore. That was the
we
quote.
can't. Yeah. And like all due respect, just on that note of we actually saw what happened again when Sydney's not in the 400 hurdles. Like Femke Bol ran, I get like not I guess. She ran really fast, but like not like no one really focused on it. All due respect to like the four hurdles. So it is like
51.5. Yeah. I said that's what it was
yeah,
going she was gonna go. 51.5.
yeah.
And nobody else can go with the pace. 52.0 got second.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Jasmine Jones.
So,
And at the end of it, and then everybody else was 53 and slower.
yeah. So now it is okay. Sydney beat that game. In the 400, obviously I can't say she's beaten the game yet because she still needs a world record, maybe an Olympic gold, but like you can assume if she continued, she would beat the game in that aspect. But does she go ahead and like continue to focus on the 400, maybe, go for the Olympic Games, get the gold medal, get the world record, or does she try something else? Because we don't need to see Sydney get an Olympic gold medal in the 400 to say, okay, she's the
Yeah.
best,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because of the way she won this.
yeah, like we know that she's the best. Like, like,
Unless I think Paulino gave you the race of her life. I really
yeah,
believe that. So as a result, that's why I'm like, if Sydney left the field, I don't see Paulino going faster than that.
yeah.
I
I
think
think
that would
Paulina would
be,
need Sydney to do something
yeah, she
better.
could win gold, but it would just be winning gold without her there. It wouldn't
Yeah.
even be like that. So personally, because see, I've already said it that Sydney is running out of a sense of really just kind of like testing the waters of what's possible. She her motivations, her value sets, like track and field is not what fulfills her. Track and field is what she does. It's a gift that she's been given and a gift she can give back to the world. As far as like her talent, we just need to say thank you. Like that's what we should be saying. Like when after the race, I hope people walked up and said, "Thank you. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate what you just did. Thank you for that." It's like a work of art that somebody makes and it's like we get to appreciate it. That's what it is. So could she go for the 400 meter? Because this is what the broadcast sounded like. After her 400 gold, you know what they're talking about? They're talking about her doubling 400 hurdles and 400 at the Olympics. That's what they're talking about. They mind is
Hmm.
all the way over there. I'm like, yo, y'all wilding. Like, I'm like, y'all are wilding. Y'all just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. They're talking about changing schedules around so that she can double. I'm like, y'all are wilding. I think that because she said herself, she wants to have the best scorecard in track. So if that's the case, all right then. Especially next year if there's no worlds, quote unquote. If I were her, which I'm not, but if I was part of the team, I would say let's go for the two.
Mm. So you think the 200?
That's the next fish to fry. It's the most logical one because we already know where you were when you weren't focusing on it. So now, because you were at 22-0, was able to beat Gabby and them when they were still on the way up. And the argument was, oh, they were still on the way up. I'm like, what do you think Sydney was doing? You don't think she was on the way up to world record status, which she was on the way to in a different event?
Hmm.
She was not supposed to beat y'all under any circumstances. She beat the Olympic gold and bronze medalist in their
Yeah.
event.
Yeah.
And
Literally.
it wasn't like at the Texas relays either. Like it was still like an actual race on NBC.
No, it's true. I think I'm with that. I think in my mind, I think Sydney, obviously I'm not in her head, but I think that her potential goal is in LA 2028 to try that double, to try the 400 hurdle double. Because I think like she wants to do something that no one has ever done. Obviously, she's already done that in the sense of winning 400 hurdle gold and 400 gold, but I think we haven't even seen we have not seen any type of hurdle double at an Olympics or a World Championships, and I think she just wants to kind of cap things off with like, okay, I've conquered these two events. Let me see if I can conquer them at the same time. at an Olympic Games. But I do think next year running the 200 probably would be a really smart move because we've seen that she has a lot of talent there. She's never taken the event seriously, and the obviously she's run it a few times, but like the most recent time she ran 22:0 against a very high quality field in whatever race in like Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So that gave glimpses of like, okay, obviously, if she ran a 200 right now, she'd run sub 22 seconds. But if she took the whole season seriously, what would that, produce?
I
So,
mean, when you just said sub 22, you do realize 22, what was it? Was it 22-1? 22-14 was second at the world champs in the two.
yep, yep.
So you see what I'm saying? Like, what we're announcing is we believe Sydney was at the bare minimum a silver medalist in this world championships we just witnessed.
Oh yeah,
Like for the field that showed up to run.
oh yeah.
Because like if your choices are Amy Hunt versus Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone in the 200, no disrespect, I think I'm taking Sydney.
Well, I mean, literally, like we don't even
Well,
have
on
to.
PR, she is faster on PR. So like,
She's actually faster on PRs, and on PRs again. Sydney ran 22:07 in a one-off race in the middle. It was like May or something, right? Like you're talking about Amy Hunt again. All due respect, but running 22:1, which I think is almost her PB. I think
yeah,
her PB is like
her PR was the semi. And
was okay.
it was like 22-0 high, 22-08 something. It was still like just right off of Sydney's best, but like not her best. It was just a race she
Yeah,
ran one time.
one time, and this was at a championships that Amy Hunt is doing it. So yeah, I mean, there's no conversation of like, okay, she would be a medalist. I'm comfortable saying she would be a medalist in the 200 if she ran it at these world championships. So, okay, if she runs the 200 next year, we're talking about Sydney. Hypothetically, let's say that everyone else is in that conversation between Gabby Thomas, she gets healthy. Melissa Jefferson wouldn't, she's there. Let's say Shrika Jackson, maybe not to that 21-4 because she's like obviously on a different level, but let's say she gets back to, 21-7, 21-6s, in that realm of Gabby and Melissa right now. Do we think Sydney would be competitive with those top 200-meter sprinters?
Yeah.
Mm.
Remember, all we're asking is how much more does she have than the 22-0 that we saw? That's what we're asking. That's where you're
Hmm.
starting the negotiations. Nobody thinks she's getting slower than that when she focuses on it and trains through a season. No one thinks that. And if they do, they just don't understand the basics of speed. So
Yeah.
if that's the case, if she's going to actually go out there and try, because Melissa Jefferson Wooden started her season running what, 23 flat
Yeah.
and finished it
23
running
something.
21-6,
Hmm.
21-6 high. So you see, like, there's a lot of movement. So with that in mind, I'm like, at the bare minimum, I still think that if Gabby and Melissa want to beat her, they're gonna have to run real, real hard at the American Championship. Tell you that right now.
Mm.
That'll be the hottest American title she's ever won, though. Like actually winning the 200 at USA's would be by far the biggest feat of her career to me at a USA Championship because she's been so much better than the fields now for so long. Like this 400 this year, it was not a race; it was a time trial again.
Yeah.
That's
She has no
all that race
competition.
was.
She has no American competition in the 400. Like she just doesn't. She literally had to take it to the world to say, okay, this is where I'm going to be pushed in any capacity. Because we saw like how it played out between Prefontaine, USA's, even at past races. Like she was a USA champion in the 400 in 2023. She's run the 400 at like the New York Grand Prix. Like she's run 400s against everybody, against Americans, and like no one is touching her. So yeah, that's a whole thing.
Sydney could have snuck into the 100-meter final at the Worlds if she focused on it.
Okay. Well, that's a conversation.
She would have just needed, she opened her season at what? The 100 she ran with 11-1 high, 11-2-0, something like that.
Something like that.
You're trying to tell me that if she ran more than 100 in her pro career, that she wouldn't be able to find two tenths? I
Yeah,
didn't
and
say
it
10-6. That's not what I said. I'm not saying
yeah,
she
yeah,
can go
yeah.
do Melissa things. I'm not saying she can go do Julian Alfred things. I'm saying that the Daryl Nita thing, she could do that.
Yeah.
Like, no, I said what I said. She could do that level of performance in 100 if that's what the standard was. Like, because see, she's at a point where if we're doing the scorecard, if she can give you an like, because this whole doubling thing, I'll be honest, that's not as exciting to me. I'm just being real.
I like it, but I
I
hear you.
it's a different because it's a different type of accomplishment. That's more of like an Iron Man or Iron Woman competition to me
Yeah.
than that is because for her to do that, this is what you'd be saying. She would be telling the world, "I'm gonna win the gold in the four, and I'm gonna win the 400 hurdle gold.
Hmm.
Y'all just have to bet that my body doesn't hold up long enough to do both." You see what I'm saying? That's why I'm just being honest. For who I am, it doesn't excite me as much
Mm.
because I want the best people to run. So I don't want to watch a worn down Sydney run because she's, in theory, probably shouldn't go as fast in either of those events in order to try to save a little something to get through the whole journey, theoretically speaking. So we wouldn't be getting the best of Sydney. We'd be getting like the awe of her just keep showing up on the track. At that point, it's
Mm.
like you might as well do the DCAT if that's what we want to see. I want to see you like I love watching her do the best trick. And the best trick she can give me in the 200 would be to go after an American title. For that matter, go after a world title in the two. I think she clearly belongs in a world championship final if she can get out of America, which that's the hard part. But if you can get out of America, like you can go after a world title in the 200 and go after a podium. If she got a medal in the 200 of any color, even though this year with that field with what they were running, we know theoretically she could maybe get a medal. But you get what I'm saying? Like she got a medal of any color at the world stage. To me, that's special with everything else that's on the board. And then if she got to a final at a World or Olympics in the 100, to me, I'm like that would like I'd be excited just to watch her get to the final
Yeah.
more than to
So
watch her win another gold in the 400 hurdles, to be honest.
so I guess then, so for example, Sharika Jackson has medals in three events: the 100, the 200, and the 400. And obviously she doesn't have world records or anything like that, but I wonder if her doing that, obviously she has the 200 golds, double golds, she has two silvers in the 100 and an Olympic bronze, and then she has two bronze medals or she has three bronze medals in the 400. One of them is at Olympics. I wonder if that kind of like those accomplishments are as impressive as someone like Michael Johnson, who's done a double, or like Marie Jose Perec, who did in the past. Like, is that as impressive? Like winning multiple events or doing it at one
Yeah,
championship?
but here's the thing, like I'm gonna say some offensive stuff and I don't even care. First, Sharika Jackson, she doesn't you with everything you just said, the gold only showed up in one event. You got to win gold in two events before we're even having a discussion. The second thing is the 100 and 200 are a fake combo. It's the same athletes running in both
Mm.
fields. So that's why winning all those 100 and 200 runners, it's not like the 8 and the 4. It's not that.
Mm. Yeah,
You see what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
It's
I see
not
that.
that
I
type.
see that.
That's what I'm saying. It's a fake double. Like it's a double, but it's not. When you're a 200 runner, you're just not fast enough to run the one. You're not good enough this year. That's why you're running the two only. If you're running the 100 only, it's because you're not good enough in the two. If you were good
Mm.
enough in the 100, if you were really that good in the 100, then you would be able to run the two because you can just be fast enough to hold on with some good training. You see what I'm saying? Like that's just the facts of it. If you're fast enough to win the 100, Oblique Seville, you're supposed to be able to be fast enough in the two if we train you properly and can keep you healthy enough. And we know that he's had issues with that, which is why he's not running the two at that level. It's really that simple. His body won't hold up to do it. At least that's what he's kind of alluded to. And I know you've done interviews and stuff with him to, kind of learn more about that. So that's why I say it's not apples to it's not an even comparison because she only has gold in one event, like one specific distance.
Yeah.
That's why. And then the other half is the 1-2 is a fake combo that doesn't mean anywhere near as much as going from, because remember, nobody had won multiple 400 hurdle gold at the Olympics till Sydney did it.
Yeah, no.
And then now she just added a 400-meter world title. Nobody has won. Am I missing this? Nobody has won the 400 hurdles and the open 400.
No, no, no.
You see
Nobody,
how
no.
it, you see what I'm saying? Like, so that's why when we're making the 4 and 2 go together. They do. The difference is the scheduling of worlds makes it hard to do both. But in college, they go together. If you're a collegiate
Oh
athlete, you
yeah,
run both. What do you think Sydney did when she was in college? She made the NCAA championships in the 200 and the 400 indoors. Because
indoors.
they
Yeah,
didn't
she did it
have no
indoors.
400 hurdles for her to run. So she had to do some with her time. So she was a national champion. You trying to, that's why when people with the 200 as a joke, it's not a joke. If you a college freshman at the NCAAs, college freshman, a college freshman who shows up to the NCAAs is supposed to be a threat to win it later on in their career. That's just how it is. So Sydney, if she never ran the 400 hurdles, let's just let's live in a world where Sydney never ran the 400 hurdles and didn't take the 400 seriously because she really thought she was a 200 runner who ran the 100 just not as well. She was at the bare minimum supposed to be an NCAA champion in the 200.
Yeah, of course.
Even if she ignored the other events she's actually better at.
Yeah, she.
That's why we're
Yeah,
having such a privileged discussion. We're not just throwing stuff at the wall. We're talking about a once in a gener. We won't be able to talk like this about anybody for a long time.
yeah. No, it's true. Yeah, if she did that, yeah, she would have been like, in theory, she would have been like a Gabby Thomas,
Yeah,
or in theory, like an Allison Felix, because Allison focused on the 200
two four, yeah,
before,
2-4, yeah,
switching over. So
and
yeah,
then came down to the 100. She could. That's a good point. If she never ran the 400 hurdles, she'd be a better Allison Felix.
yeah. In theory.
That's literally what Sydney is. She's Allison Felix, good enough to run the 400 hurdles better than anybody in history,
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes
which
sense.
is
Yeah,
wild to say out loud.
I mean, it is obviously, and I think there's always going to be that lack of appreciation, especially when comparing with Allison Felix, because before Allison was like running the 100, like I think 2012 was the first time Allison Felix made a 100-meter team, or at least competed at global championships. 2012, she was running 4x1s before then. Like she was already doing the 4x1, 4x4, and 200 at global champs. Sydney doesn't have that. Like we're probably not going to see Sydney on a 4x1. Maybe she dips into that
They
200.
don't
She
need it.
might.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But we're just not going to be able to see that. But there is that level of appreciation that people should have of like what she's doing now is just as, if not greater than what Allison Felix had done in this time frame of her career, right? Like
Oh
in this
yeah, I
short,
think most people know that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, because people look at just the number. Sometimes people look at the number of medals and they'll be like, "Oh, Allison Felix has the most medals," or like is the greatest, et cetera, et cetera. But like Sydney being able to switch so many events, and as to your point, the hurdles to the 400, like that's very different. Even I think one of the greats in like Gail Devers, who has gold medals in the 100 and the 100 hurdles, right? I do feel like there's even a difference of like 4 hurdles to 400. That's like very, very challenging.
Yeah, well, I would
Very, very
say
challenging.
I would put that on the same level. I'd put them on the same level as
The
far
only
as like in
reason,
terms of the challenge. I mean, there's arguments to be made on both sides. I get it,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
think
yeah.
because that's what makes Gail Devers
Yeah,
a legend.
she's a goat.
Like that's
Yeah.
why she's in that special class. The thing is, Sydney's still adding to the chest,
Yeah,
which
she still has
is
more to go.
can she? And that's why it's like all this doubling thing. Like you're right, she could do that in theory. It's just it doesn't excite me anywhere near as much as watching her add to the scorecard in different ways. If she, could you imagine if Sydney really retired with medals in the 200 and the 100? Let's just be stupid for a moment.
Yeah. So
She could get
I'll
she could get that bronze medal in 100. Because the bronze is the one that falls down where you ain't got to run that fast. You just got to go like 1089. Like, am I wrong? It's the medal
Yeah.
that always falls. For the most part, unless Jamaica's gonna all go fast at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
For
yeah.
the most part, it's the medal that falls down to you. So, like, could you imagine if that was when if she called it a career? Everything, don't touch the 400 hurdles again, but she probably will run the 400 again.
Yeah,
But I'm saying, what if she just never really touched it again and just said, "All right, let's go after this stuff." And because I'm pretty sure, like the 2027, 2028, 2029, let's say she got around to the 100 by 2029 because she was bored. Like,
yeah. I mean, I think okay, so for me, the reason why I think a double is maybe a little more interesting is because there's a woman, Irina Shevchenko, like back in the day, not back in the day, but like the 60s, 70s. she won Olympic medals in the 100, 200, 400 long jump individually and multiple golds and a few bronzes and silvers, like in each individual event. And she held the world record in the 100, 200, 400 at one point in her career. So when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, Sydney can do that. And I think she's capable of doing it, but it's almost like a double is something I have never seen before in the 400 hurdles, 400. That's like my personal preference. Um, but I think like to your point, no matter what she does, she'll be regarded as like one of the greats. I think obviously in the 200, she has that potential. She has that ability of like, okay, if you dropped her in this 200-meter final in Tokyo, she would have won a medal. The 100, I think if she eventually gets there, that would be like, to me, okay, wow. Like, wow.
I will say to your point though, like and this is not shade to the past generations, because I see both sides.
Yeah.
But the thing is, sports evolve, and there's like a moment when the sport transitions. So as a result, like, and I know this because basketball is where I came from, so I understand.
Hmm.
There was a moment when the NBA crossed over to being something else than what it once was. They're the reason why nobody says Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain are the best player ever. You see what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah.
We celebrate their accomplishments for what they were, but they existed before we crossed over to a whole new era. And once we made that shift, if it makes sense, the game was different. The rules were different. The training was different. There were more people competing at a high level. Like, you know, I would argue that the development that is the modern version of the NCAA and the international influence with it. And so, like, none of that was in place yet. So as there was, like, I'm sure amateur athletic union, if it was a thing, barely, but probably didn't even exist. USATF certainly didn't look anything like what it is now. Like, I guess that's why I'd
No.
say, like, it's celebrated, like it's etched in time. It's like those type of accomplishments are always on them, always Hall of Fame,
Hmm.
but it doesn't keep us from elevating somebody past you.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's exactly what happened to Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell. They are always, right there in the Hall of Fame. You got to put them in that top group. But we had no problem putting people ahead of you because we put you in, like, there was a cap to how we could assess it. So I think Sydney, I received that, like, the double could be special. I just don't think that it would be as, and again, maybe, and when I say exciting, it's just here's the best way to put it. Once you watch Sydney run that fast, you see what I'm saying? Once you watch her win, it's like if she were to go to, because, okay, let's be 100% real about what Sydney's journey has been. The reason why she's been storybook is because she did a version of what Bolt did, but she did it even better. She's not just been winning. She figured out how to win and then break world records along the way, and then break her own record. So you know what I'm saying? Like, she's coming to the biggest stage and then going faster than anyone's ever gone, including her, and then said, I'm going to go to another championship. So, like, 2021, Olympic gold. But what did she do when she did it? World
Broke the
record.
world record.
2022, does the
Yeah.
same thing again, breaks the record. 2024, same thing again, breaks the record. Goes to your USA's, breaks the record.
Yeah.
That is what a lot of the mystique is. I just don't have much investment in watching her run 51-1 to beat Femke. I'm being real. It doesn't do much for me. And I also don't have that much investment in watching her run. Let's be generous. I'll use the USA since it's a little safer. At USA's, if Sydney go back there to run the 400, because they're gonna do a USA's next year, even with the no worlds. Let's say she goes back to run the 400. She could go to USA's and run a 200. That would be exciting. But she could go back to run the 400. I fine then. Maybe she wins it in 49 flat. So what?
I mean, yeah. It's
Because she
like,
could.
of
That's
course.
realistic. She could run 49-0, and that could win it.
I
And win
mean,
it
yeah.
cleanly.
Basically.
It would have won it cleanly this year. She could
Exactly.
under 49, but like even 49-3 could have got it
Yeah.
done. Do you have any level of investment to watch her double that? I don't,
No, 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 no. I don't.
because it's
I
just doing what you do.
That's true. I guess I look at it like I want to see Sydney double and put her best forward, right? I guess
I
I'm
don't think
looking
she
at it.
could though. I think that'd be asking too much.
Well, I'm looking at
I
it
wouldn't
like
ask that of her to run all those races and go that fast.
that. I look at Michael Johnson in 1996, where he literally ran the best races of his life to win those gold medals. He ran 43-4, and then of course the 19-3. Like he literally ran those races to win the gold medals. Now, obviously, and even at the same Olympics, you had Marie Jose Perec, who did similar. She did her personal best and all that. So, you know, that's what I'd like to see. But I do
You're
agree.
saying it's possible. I'm
And
saying
that,
like
yeah,
if it's because it'd be uncharted territory. You're right, but I guess I'm also seeing that like as much as that is possible, it's also possible that because okay, how do you think people will receive it if she wins the gold in both and I guess use real time, throw them on the board. Let's say we're in 2028 and she wins gold in both and goes, yeah, let's say in the four she goes 48-1 and the 400 hurdles she goes 50.9. Did that like what did that do for the sport? It just lets us know everybody else is slow. That's how it's gonna you know what 20 that's what 2029 is gonna be. When we out here trying to market track, all we gonna find out is Sydney, people gonna say, is Sydney there? And if the answer is no, then the second half will be, well, we know y'all slow because she was able to underachieve and run all these events and still beat y'all. You see what I'm saying? Like, and again, for how we market the sport, that's how I see where the chips would fall on that in terms of in the streets. They're the hangover after the Olympics. LA
yeah,
2028 might be a nice little lead up, but what y'all think gonna happen after LA 2028 with the current infrastructure we got in America? People gonna be so like done with track for a while that if there's nothing to move to, so I think I understand it could backfire. As in like
yeah, yeah,
great
yeah,
for
yeah.
her, I got two golds, but like because I just don't think it's fair to ask her to break world records and all that stuff all that many times. I would
That's
not.
fair.
Because I think that's what people would. I think that's what the announcers were suggesting.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
They're
yeah.
not saying Sydney go run both. They're not saying Sydney get medals in both. They're also not saying Sydney get gold in both. They're saying Sydney go out there and break records in both.
Yeah, that's true.
Like do our little show pony thing.
I will say I do to me even her running like whatever running 51 in the hurdles and then 48 flat or 48 1 in the 400 and winning that double. I still think that would be insanely impressive. I think it would be more impressive than going into I don't know if it'd be more impressive than going into 200 and winning gold ahead of like Gabby and Sharika, them running at their best, like if they're running like 21-6 or something. But I think there's something special about being able to accomplish a double because it's almost like with Sydney, we even in the 200, I want to see her next year. I think the 200 next year is probably perfect. No global championships, run it at USA's, run it at the World Ultimate Championships, see how fast you can go. But I think there's something with Sydney where as an individual, we already know that she's legendary. Like I at this point, like I can't doubt her in the 200, right? Like I just know that all right, if she's gonna go in the 200,
She's
sure,
not going if she don't think she can do it.
exactly. So it's almost like I already know that, but I don't 100% know if she can do a full double, no matter if the schedule has changed. That's something that I do find to be very, very special. So I don't know. I'm like kind of
I
split.
here's my final thought on the double. I feel like, and again, I see the sport through a different lens.
Hmm.
Remember, we've talked about this. I feed the international product for what it is, celebrate it for what it is, but I don't think that it is functional to call this the epitome. I think it just exposes the lack of what the value is of like what pro sports should be. In a pro sports league, where is Sydney's value? Sydney's value is Sydney is the female LeBron.
Yeah.
That's what she is. Because see, LeBron was the system. When you had LeBron and you got him on your team, the game plan was play around LeBron. When he was at his peak, which lasted longer, and he's some version of it going down now, but the still version of it. The system was give the ball to LeBron. So keep in mind, LeBron brought a Cavs team with Ilgauskas and Larry Hughes to the finals. But he then also brought another one where he had Dellavedova out here and Tristan Thompson. And that was supposed to be his because Kyrie Irving was out. He really went out there with Dellavedova winning games. People who couldn't start for anybody else in the league got paid after that, and then we realized, wait a minute, you actually aren't good. Not as a pro, but like, so I'm saying, like, in a different environment, it would make sense to me to see her go out there and like earn it. But when she's running for herself, her light shines so brightly that it dims the light of other people. So I think the double would backfire on the sport, even though it'd be great
Mm,
for her. It would be like, wow, this amazing woman has now given us this amazing moment. And then winning the 400 and not breaking a world record will not be enough to excite anyone anymore. Winning the 400
mm.
hurdles and not breaking a record will not be enough to sell as a product. If we're still selling international as the primary product, good luck out there marketing that. So that's why it's almost like, again, her light shines so brightly. Now, I'm not telling her to not shine brightly. I'm just saying, that, like, hey, trust me, I'll be on the train if she wants to run both. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just playing the other side here,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is to
yeah.
recognize that there is another side, that it's not all gravy for her to go do that.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. And it definitely, I think that also depends on how the sport would be able to market whatever she's doing at the, of course, the Olympic Games or World Champs, whatever. Like it would depend on how that situation is marketed. Because when Allison Felix was attempting the double, she didn't get to do it in 2016, but there was a whole kind of like marketing apparatus around her journey to be able to get to the Olympic Games, her journey to like try and do this double, et cetera, et cetera. Like there was an apparatus around that, for Allison at the time being like the pinnacle of, sport or track and field. So the sport would need to make sure that they market things appropriately. But I do hear that. I do hear the argument though. I do hear like, yeah, how it could. But I don't know. I don't know.
yeah,
There's some,
I
yeah.
mean, that, again, that's just that's a different rabbit hole that gets into
Yeah.
the dynamics of what international track is. Okay, remember, I'm speaking from the American context. I recognize my channel is global, and if you're all around the world, please, again, shout out to you wherever you are. But in our nation, we've got more talent than we know what to do with. A lot of it comes through the NCAA system, and the international system actually chokes it out because there's nowhere for them to go. That's why it's like Sydney is the type of athlete who would be an amazing utility where it's like, I mean, again, think like from the indoor perspective. I could run her in a 300. I could run her in a 500. I could put her on a 4x4. You see what I'm saying? Like
Everything.
she could run an indoor too. You
She
see
can run
how
60 hurdles. She could do
yeah,
everything.
she could do the 60 hurt. She could show her value in so many different ways where it's like, all right, put me in, coach. I'm gonna take you to the title. It's all right. Okay, oh, the 4x4 is last. Man, look, I'm tired, but you know what? I'm looking at the scoreboard. We gotta win. Yo, coach, put me in. Put me in, coach. It'd be like Mariano Rivera when he was coming, the closer for the Yankees. When he would come in the game, the thought was the game is over. That when you brought Mariano out, that was what you were telling to the other team. You were saying this game is over. So if you're not ahead of us now, you're not going to get ahead of us in the future because this guy doesn't blow saves. Mariano Rivera was so perfect that he blew two saves in a row towards the end of his career, a season where he still made the All-Star game. And I remember listening to sports talk radio in New York, and the conversation was some people were calling in like, "Oh, maybe we should trade Mariano, trade him while his value is high." And then the guy who was the radio host, it was Michael Kay. He said, "Before you call back in and say trade Mariano, give me a name." Because you can't come up with a name. There's literally no one in the world who you would want to pitch in that role better than him. Sydney's that. Give me a
Mm,
name.
mm.
There's nobody else you could trade her for.
Yeah, nah.
There is no equivalent value. The only way you beat her is you got to beat her by committee. Because Sydney's pulling so much weight, maybe I can get me an Isabella Whitaker and a Leah Butler and a Bailey Lear and a something else. And if Sydney's pulling with some college girls who ain't that fast, then fine, maybe we could get her. Like
Yeah,
if we're
yeah,
talking from a
yeah,
relay perspective, but like
yeah.
there is no one to one, and that's why she's such a one of a kind athlete that even this discussion we get to have fun because we'll
I know
never get
that's
to
the
talk
thing.
like this about anybody else.
You can play around. You can play around.
Yeah.
Even somebody, I mean, before we close out, like somebody after she won the 400 gold, one of the last questions a reporter in the mix zone asked was like, "Hey, do you want to do the 800?" Like that's where minds are going to of like every possible scenario from the 100 up to the 800. It's like literally just people think she and feel like she can do anything. Literally can do anything.
Yeah, and I say there are limits to the human body, and running that many rounds in the Olympic Games in the 400 hurdles is not only a tall order to ask. She has to because see because at the end of the day she'd have to develop the motivation, her and her
Yeah.
team, to be like we're going to tackle this because I don't because she doesn't normally she really hadn't seen failure in her track career if that makes sense.
Yeah, not in
If
like
not in the
not
truer
s-
sense.
yeah, because like
Any failure she had
really
was fake failure.
I wouldn't call it fake failure. I would
It was
just say
I'm
she was
young failure. I'm the youngest person to ever be here, but I failed. Like, you
like
know
she
what I
was on the
mean?
rise when she lost her like in 2019, right? She lost to
Yeah.
Dalila and she was like on the rise. But it's to the point. I just wouldn't call it fake. Like
Yeah. I say fake in the sense of like it's the same way we be making excuses for Gout,
oh
saying that like he makes the semifinal, oh, it's a good step. That's what I mean. She got second
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
the
One of the
world
fastest, literally one of the fastest. She
at
literally
that
ran like the
time,
second fastest time in history. Like,
at that moment.
yeah.
That's why I call it fake failure because it's not failure. Failure would be I didn't make the final, but I was supposed to. That's failure.
Mm, mm.
Failure is false starting in a final. Like, let's see, that's failure. Failure is I'm supposed to get a medal and I end up off the podium. That's failure. If Lefile
Mm.
come back next year and win a medal, or 2 years from now and win a gold medal, that's actually overcoming adversity.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I
That's what
see
I
what you
mean
mean.
by it's fake failure. Like it's not even. That's why it's like, again, she wouldn't do it if she didn't think she could. But
Yeah.
she actually has so many routes that are available, and I'm here to support whichever one it is that is the route. I'm just making it clear to all the people talking about the double, all those people that at the because remember she doesn't have a 400 gold at the Olympics.
Yeah,
So you
she
see how
doesn't.
we're talking about a double, but she don't even have that yet. Truth be told, she don't need to break the world record right now because breaking the world record is actually not all that exciting. You know how I know? Because when Usain Bolt did it in New York, nobody cared outside of the outside of the track community. The sports community didn't care. They only cared when he did it at the games because they were watching.
Mm, I see what you
That's
mean.
very important. Sydney doesn't need to break the world record. She needs to do it when they're watching. She can't just do it on the diamond. It won't work. It won't advance anything. It'll just be track people talking about it.
Mm.
People didn't even
I-
know that she was running in a world championship. They only found out in American media because she ran so fast, fastest in 40 years. She already had the reputation. That's the only people didn't know the world championships were happening. They don't know that Melissa Jefferson Wooden did a sprint trip. They don't know none of that. People still think that
Yep.
Julian Alfred is the fastest woman in the world, and I know because I talked to him.
Yep. It's
I tried to
true.
explain to them there's a young lady named Melissa Jefferson Wooden. I
Who's
was
like literally
like, I was
faster.
trying to explain it to them. They're like,
Yep.
but what
Yep.
about Shakari?
Yeah,
Because
it's
that's
true.
the world they're in America.
In America, yeah. The world championships just doesn't hold as much weight. Like it just doesn't. Like at all. People even may not have known that Sydney broke the American record in the semifinals, right? Like that might have like hit a blip of like, okay, Sydney did something, but like, I mean, it's if Sydney got a bronze medal here, most of the world, or at least like the non-track world, wouldn't have really paid attention and or cared that much
Yeah, it would
because
have been a non-story, but no one would have been
yeah,
disappointed.
Yeah, because she's still the Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah.
Like that's what matters.
Yeah. And that's why I say, like, when they talk about the double, I'm like, she still has more fish to fry. Whereas that's why I'm like, run the 200 this year. If she go to the Olympics and run the 400 and win a gold medal and break the world record, that you see how, like, to me logically, I can even just understand that as like a next step where
Mm,
it's just not necessary to run that fast right now. I mean, by right, I mean 2026. There's just no the benefit if we're talking about like because in like again, the trackety track folk will remember if she broke that record. They will. The
of
trackety
course.
track. But the fringe, they won't even know it happened. It'll be like a fun fact. Something that they bring out at like, I don't know, you playing one of these quiz games one day. And they're like, who's the world record holder in the women's 400? And they're like,
My name is Anderson from The Final Leg.
And I'm Coach Rob from SCA Track and Field. And thank you for watching this segment from the finish line.
If you want to know what's really going on at the high school and college level, be sure to subscribe to Coach Rob Track and Field.
And if you want more content on the best track and field athletes in the world, be sure to subscribe to The Final Leg.
World Championships in Tokyo are officially over, and the men's 100-meter dash did live up to the hype, or at least that's what I think it did, because we have a brand new world's fastest man, depending on how you feel about that title, and Oblique Seville is that guy. So before I even go any further, how do we feel about this race? Because depending on who you ask, it went exactly the way they thought it would. But I mean, we ain't never see Oblique do this. When I say never, I mean never. So, talk to me because you were there live.
Yeah, yeah. I think this race definitely lived up to expectations. Many people did predict this. Many people didn't. I definitely didn't, pick Oblique to win gold, but I think most people kind of had this top three in some order. But it's true. We had Noah Lyles as the defending champion coming in from the World Championships 2023 and from the Olympics last year in Paris. So he was on paper one of the favorites. You had Kashane Thompson, who was the fastest man on the clock in 2025 and in 2024, right? He's run the fastest times both years. And then you had Oblique Seville, who was the guy that, hadn't gotten it done in however many championships since 2022. He's always been off the podium and he managed to finally deliver. And I think like you said, I was there. So seeing the progression through the rounds, we saw a lot of, interesting things kind of unfold from the heats to the semis. And then when we got to the final, we saw all the main players lined up right there in the center. You add in, Kenny B as well. But it turned out to be Oblique Seville finally getting that gold medal. And saying finally because, as I said, he had unfortunately not gotten onto the podium at all in any championships since 2022. You can even go back to 2021 when he was at the Olympics, only made the semifinals. He was still very, very young, but I think he did exceed expectations or meet certain people's expectations. And I think he did it in very emphatic fashion. He was the only one to go under, he was the only one to run 9.7, right? That to me showed that, all right, Oblique met the moment. And to a degree, the other people behind him didn't perform up to expectations. Because, like I said, Kashane Thompson was and still is he's ending the year as the world leader, running 9.75. Noah Lyles obviously won gold last year at the Olympics, running 9.7, and he was kind of trending in that direction. But so you can kind of parse things out depending on how things look. Even Kenny B, he's run 9.7 this year. So Oblique kind of stepped up to the plate while others didn't perform up to their full capabilities. Though it's not to say that anyone, Noah Lyles, he got a season's best, right? It's not like he completely underperformed or anything, but I think that Oblique really just took control of this entire race as a whole.
Yeah, I think the clock can sometimes get us in trouble because when you account for all the different factors,
Yeah.
this race, okay, let's take Oblique's Lausanne race, the one that was the moment for some people. This was some version of that race. And what he proved, though, was that the gaps he was putting on the field were actually legit gaps. That's what I would
Mm-hmm.
say. And because remember, Noah was ahead of everybody else. That's what it was. It was, and again, going back to those races, it was he was second, people were behind him, but Oblique had a pretty sizable gap. And the only thing
Hmm.
Noah did is like chip away at that gap a little bit. But other than that, like, Kashane, I think he's probably again, another silver medal, but like that wasn't the goal. Like on a personal level, that just wasn't the goal.
Yeah,
So
of
he's
course.
probably the one who probably was the most like, you know, it's hard to say a silver medal is underwhelming, but like it was not the direction we expected him to step. But this is now 2 years in a row we got that same narrative of he can go so much faster. And I was like, well, last year he didn't go so much faster. And then this year he didn't go so much faster again, which is starting to make me continue to believe. I wouldn't say making me believe. I'll say I continue to believe that maybe that's just how his seasons are going to go. There'll be a flash time, and then the rest of the season will be trying to hold on to that form. So, I mean, just go back to Oblique though. I mean, it's interesting because like him winning the championship makes sense. Like again, hindsight is 2020. But at the same time, I don't feel like it was like it was a decisive victory, but it doesn't make me necessarily feel like this is his time now, like going forward. It's sort of like,
Hmm.
okay, you got this one. And if he doesn't take a step forward, like a true step forward, as in like from this form to the next, like I can still see, somebody coming and getting you in the future. I think that's kind of like the general feeling. Again, maybe the clock is part of that narrative, so maybe I'm somewhat contradicting, but I'm contradicting myself. But
Nah, I agree. I think even though Oblique won, I think there's two parts where this was a long time coming for Oblique, where all right, he got the win. It was very decisive. He it wasn't a massive, massive gap, but like he ran 9.7, the other guys ran 9.8. So it was a sizable enough win where it's like, all right, he convincingly won. But the other guys are still close enough and are it's still kind of like up in the air of like, okay, Kashane could come back and win, a gold medal at some point. Because let's not forget, Oblique, this is what the fourth time that Oblique has been in the final. And there was a point where if Oblique didn't get a medal here, people would have said, all right, you're the next Asafa Powell or whatever, right? You just can't do it. Kashane, he has gotten two silver medals, but that's not even as many times as Oblique has been in finals. So he can come back in 2027, 2028 and win a gold medal, and it wouldn't be a surprise. Noah Lyles, he's still in the conversation as someone like I don't know. He was injured this for the better part of
yeah,
this entire year and was playing catch up for the most part. This of course happened to be the best race of his year, so I don't see a reason to say that he's slowing down. Kenny B, similar situation where not he wasn't injured, but he's still in the conversation. So I think this was a moment for Oblique to assert himself as like, okay, I deserve to remain in the conversation as one of the great 100-meter sprinters of this generation, but I still need to make sure I'm pushing myself to be better because all these guys can show up and can step up, right? That's what I think he needs to make sure he's maintaining.
so
Because yeah,
I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
no,
off.
no,
I'm
go
just
ahead.
thinking right off of that, where okay, this is how I see the final. This is how I see the season, based on what the final told us. So I'm gonna put everybody in categories. We had I think we had legit contenders. We had three legit contenders, but there was a contender and a half, or like a half contender, and I think that was Kenny B because he finished in fourth. And no
Mm,
disrespect, I always saw him as, I don't see you with the other three. But that's because I watched, again, if you go back over the facts were he was beating Oblique when Oblique wasn't looking like this yet. He was. So that's what got him in the contender pile. And then, you know, again, if we move, because Akani was in the final, he was there.
he was there,
He was
and he
supposed to
was
be
yeah,
there. He was
yeah,
supposed to be there because he beat Kashane when Kashane wasn't Kashane yet. Like,
yep.
but this is
The-
what made him, again, if you're not a contender, you're a challenger. Like that's what he was. Like he was a challenger. So Kenny's in between the two, and he's in between because what ended up happening was when Oblique turned it on, he blasted past everybody, including maybe not Kashane because he like, wasn't in a race with him, but he blasted past Noah, and everybody else is behind him distantly. But Noah's not getting beat by anybody else who's not you. And then he doesn't get
mm,
beat by anybody who's not Kashane. So it's like, well, they're the only two guys who realistically could do it because we saw Kenny behind you. Like that's what, so everything actually stayed on path. I mean, now I think those three, like Oblique got it, But I think under varying degrees of circumstance, it could have been one of the other two guys. I just don't ever believe it was going to be Kenny.
Mhm.
And then that's not being disrespectful. I'm saying I just don't see it all adding up in that direction. So that's why I'm thinking
Mhm.
like next another season is going to be because what has to happen is somebody has to join that group. Like you got to show us you got the form to run with them because Noah found his way to a bronze medal just by being better than y'all. That's kind of what he didn't run like yes, it's a season best, but like it wasn't a great race. Like I remember watching 30 to 50 and I was like, oh, this is over. Because the first 20, I was like, okay, Noah. And then when I saw 30 to 50, I was like, it's over. Like
Yeah, he
I was
didn't
like, this is not what you did at World Indoor to get a medal in the 60s.
to
This
get
is
his
not that.
yeah. No, very much so. There was some differences there, and like yeah, for Noah, it's like it probably does speak to the well. I mean, he did. I think he did very well in it too, but it just speaks to maybe just the time of the year that he missed due to injury. Where sure you have more room for error in the 200, but in the 100, when you're going up against Kashane and Oblique, who are explosive from the start, and then Oblique, who found a way to really execute his entire race, then you're not going to be able to match that. And like you said, we saw that throughout the year. Now, I do think I wouldn't count someone like Kenny. Well, even before Kenny, just my last note on Oblique, I can imagine a world, even though I still do see things very close, I can imagine a world where he goes on to continue to win gold medals. Now, again, it's very close. I'm not saying 100% he's going to be, defending his title or anything like that. But this may have been the thing for Oblique to break that barrier and say, okay, I now have the confidence to be the top guy. I now see what it's like or what it takes to be on top of the podium. This may have been that moment for him to now continue to win gold or just remain on the podium, whatever it may be. This may have been it. But I can see a world, like I said, with Kashane Thompson. He can step things back up. He can figure out because, unfortunately, of course, I picked Kashane for gold, but the same thing that unfortunately happens throughout the year in certain races, it unfolded in the final. His second half of the race, he was tying up, he folded, and like he just wasn't able to execute. He felt that pressure, and he wasn't able to execute. Kenny B, I could also imagine him stepping things up in the next couple years because actually with I think it was Kashane and Kenny in the semifinals, they both ran like 9-8 something. I think Kenny ran faster in
Yeah,
the semis than his final. So I don't know if I'm not sure I
well,
believe that Kenny is like a 9.75 or 9.76 guy, but it wouldn't surprise me if he gets to a point where it's like, all right, I made two consecutive finals at the Olympics and now the world champs. Maybe now I can step things up and get onto the podium, maybe challenge these guys.
I hear you, but when I go back to the stat where, remember, when Bolt leaves the game,
Hmm.
nobody, not one person who's not named Noah Lyles has won multiple gold medals. Now, notice what I said. I didn't say multiple gold in the 100. I said multiple gold medals, period.
Yeah.
No one has done it. So if Oblique were to go win another one, he'd be the first. So now you have to start asking, what does it take to win multiple golds? Oblique has the talent. We know this. But when we talk about multiple golds, because now we're leaving Noah in them, like we're now thinking like historic history of the last 20 to 30 years.
Hmm.
You have to have a different level of talent. When I say different, you have to have what I call a skill gap. Now in basketball, it means something different. But for my purposes, the skill gap is the thing that allowed Noah to get bronze while doing it wrong. If that makes sense. He didn't run a good race in that middle portion. He just didn't. Still gets bronze because his skill gap allows him that space. Everybody else had to perform. They had to perform. He didn't have to perform to still end up there, if that makes sense. So
Mm.
the skill gap athletes are the ones who win multiple. Carl Lewis, skill gap. You see what I'm saying? Like Maurice Green, skill gap. Noah Lyles, skill gap. And even Justin Gatlin, still, there was a skill gap. Usain Bolt goes without saying. So as a result, does Oblique have a skill gap? If that skill gap just showed up, if Lazon was the beginning of it, if that was supposed to be showing us where it is, then maybe he's going to win another one. But that's what it would take. Otherwise, you're just a guy who won a gold, which you're in history, like you're there. But there's a lot of guys who won golds. And we're going to talk about the 200 in a moment. Remember, Ramil Gulyev had the 200-meter gold medal. He is the litmus test for like, it's proof that you could get one. And Ramil Gulyev does not have a skill gap at all.
No, I think Oblique has that skill gap. I think it's just the past couple years
Compared to Kashane, he might. And compared to Kashane, remember, he's in the game with these guys. The skill cap would have to put you, for the whole thought to match, you have to be elevated above your field. So it's not it's not like if Noah got one and you got one, that cancels out. Does that make sense? Like Maurice Green had something nobody for a period of years had but him.
Yeah, I guess I think because because I guess there's multiple skill gaps where it's like, based on the thought, like Noah has, I don't know, like the skill of performing when it counts, because he's obviously not faster than Oblique or Kashane. Like it just times like all that. He's just not faster, but he has a skill of showing up when it counts the most, of performing when it counts. That is a massive skill, and it's proven throughout the years at the championships with multiple golds. I think Oblique and Kashane have the talent skill gap that can actually translate to, well, Oblique for now because he has the gold medal, that can translate into multiple gold medals. That's why I think that this gold in the 100 might have been that breakthrough for him, because he's dealt with injuries the past couple of years. He's, I know people say, and even his coach Glenn Mills said that he, it's not like a mental thing, but there may have been that aspect. Like it or not, like you don't go through whatever it is, 4 championships of not winning a medal, and you're not affected by that mentally. So I think there is some aspect there. But now I think he has the talent, and once he's healthy, we see what he's able to do. I think that can carry him through to another gold medal. So in my opinion, I feel like he has like this kind of skill gap that can bring him to another gold medal. Now, whether or not he does it, that's another question, because it's still very, very close. But I think Oblique Seville is just as talented. And I mean, you can argue more talented, obviously, on paper. Yeah, on paper and in speed and all those aspects than someone like Noah, who has a skill of showing up when it counts the most, regardless of, whatever he's done through the year.
But
So
that's not,
yeah.
well, I have a question for you, but the question before I get there, because it's about Oblique's performance compared to another race. What I would say is, I would argue that Noah's skill gap is not just clutch performing. The skill gap is he's the strongest runner in the field, which is why the 200 is not a race. It's the Noah Lyles show, because he's the strongest sprinter in the field. Like from 50 to 100, who are you trusting more than him? The problem is he butchered it in the first half, which is why that like he has to count on that part. But the key is, I mean, even right now, if you had a race, then your life depended on it. You had to pick a guy, and you knew that you could only that what matters was that they do from 50 to 100. Who you got? Like
Well,
so, like that's where, like again, I remember watching, and I saw 30 to 50, and I'm talking about like, watching it live. And I visually saw what was happening between him and the field in that specific window. And then I called it verbally, like, okay, this is now over. I knew he was going to come and knock some people out. But he went from in the mix to out of it to then I'm going to get myself back in it. If he had just stayed in the mix, he would have been at least right up there with Kashane, at the very least. The problem was he went out of it and then he had to get back in. But the question would be, which race is more impressive to you? Christian Coleman's 2019 100 win, or what Oblique just did in this one?
Well, I mean, Christian Coleman's 2019. I think that's more impressive. It's
Just
pretty
100.
close. Yeah, it's actually pretty close, but I guess I don't know. It's pretty close. I guess I'm looking at Christian Coleman's because Christian Coleman is, you can argue, whatever the data says or whatever, but you can argue he's the best starter in the 100 meters, maybe in history, right? Like we know he's extremely explosive, but he struggles in the second half of the race. Now, in that 2019 race, he put together literally at least for him, the perfect race where he executed the start. He was able to maintain, through that middle half and, at least like decelerate the least, going to the finish line. And that led him to a 9.76. So that was like for Christian Coleman, literally, and still to this day, his best race that won him the gold medal. Now, so I feel like that's maybe slightly better because what we've seen in the years afterwards, where he's been still had that great start, outside of like 2025, for the most part, he's had an explosive start, but he hasn't been as strong in the second half. But with Oblique, what I think is special about this race is that it's all the history of what has occurred at the previous championships, where coming into these championships, it was hard to say that, all right, he was going to win the gold medal because we've seen evidence where he's been on the line and he not forget a gold medal, he hasn't been able to win any medal. He hasn't been able to get on the podium at all. So for him to not only he didn't just get on the podium here, he got the gold medal and he ran a personal best. He essentially ran the best race of his life, obviously. Even, him saying, again, while I was there, I spoke to him. He's like, no, I didn't even get a perfect race. Like, there's still a trillion things I needed to fix up.
Yeah, but
So
I mean, but that part right there, that's just how athletes think. I mean,
that's true, of course, of
like that,
course.
like those statements don't mean as much to me because what it takes to run a personal best is you have to do like this is the logic. You actually have to run in a way where you do everything you've ever done right again, and then make a correction. That's what a PR is.
Hmm.
So do you see why, oh, I didn't run a perfect race? Speaking from experience is not a very valuable assessment of where you're headed because you still have to get it right again. But I brought up the Christian Coleman thing and I appreciate the breakdown because now the second half was like, okay, when you see Christian Coleman today, and I'm thinking 2022 to
Hmm.
2024, let's just use that window. Did you feel like he was a world beater in that window?
Well, not no. I mean, he hasn't gotten on the podium, so he
Yeah,
couldn't have
but I
been.
mean, no, I feel like, did you really think he was going to win gold in 2022?
Not 2022. Maybe not gold, but I in 2023, had a feeling I thought he might be able to get on the podium.
Yeah, but that's not what I said. Win gold. I didn't say you say I thought he might be
Well,
able to get on the podium. That's not the
well,
same thing as win gold.
well, 20. I mean, we gotta look. 2022 is different because that was like Fred Curley was running 9.7 like multiple
Yeah,
times that year.
but he hadn't gone faster than Christian. They were in that final together in 2023. I'm using that. My point being that, like, do you see what I mean by the gap in talent between like I can win one and then winning another? It's the
Yeah.
reason why I go in any sport, winning multiple championships, especially in a row, is super hard to do. Because no, you don't catch anybody flipping the second time. See,
Hmm.
people underestimated Oblique before. Nobody's underestimating again. Like that's not going to happen. He will not be
Yeah.
underestimated from this point on. Every race that Oblique Seville runs from this point on, especially let's just say next season, 2027, because next year there's technically no worlds. It's a little
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a world ultimate, whatever that means. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like ultimately, no pun intended. Next time he runs for the next 2 years, it's really going to linger for 2 years. He's getting everybody's best shot.
Yeah.
Before it was Oblique's here, and now it's if I beat him, then I just took out the reigning champ. So I'm not saying he's not up for the challenge. What I'm saying is it's going to be different because that's where Noah was living. Every time you ran against him this year, that was how he was being treated, right? If I beat him, I take out the guy. And I think that
Yeah.
also played into Shane and Oblique's races against him because they did not come with any level of underestimation. See, now that you've beaten him, here's the irony. I think Noah's going to be underestimated again in the 100. Like, that's what I think is
Mm.
going to happen. Where do you really think that 989 was the best race he can give you? It might have been the best race he can give you in the 100, given the lack of training required for him to get through the first 50 and then maintain in a 100 in a championship, maybe this year, when he hasn't run hundreds hardly at all. But do you think that's the best it's ever going to get? If we can get him back healthy and running, I don't. I think this thing can improve. Like realistically, not just from what we've seen, but I'm like, I see where it went off the track this year.
Yeah, yeah.
The question
I
is
mean,
not whether he would have won gold this year, though. The question is, I think he would have been right in that 982, 981, 980, 979, 983. I think he would have been in that gap at the bare minimum. I think the 989 is literally him just running on talent, saying, I'm better than y'all. That's how I felt. It didn't feel like he executed well at all in the grander scheme. It was just every single race he ran in the 100 this year, he proved I'm better than the rest of y'all. Sorry.
yeah, better. Yeah, better than that's better than
But
the
he
rest of the
wasn't
field.
better
That's
than
true.
them running like that.
That's
And
fair.
like, no one
Yeah,
else won. No one else beat him. This whole
I
time.
I guess I look at Oblique moving forward, not in the same realm, but like I can't. Obviously, this 100-meter field is going to be competitive moving forward, no matter what. But it's a similar conversation. It's like Noah wasn't Noah until he became Noah, right? 2019, he won his first gold medal in the 200, but he didn't win anything else until 2022. He lost in the next championships at the Olympics, right? So even though he was seen as the most dominant 200-meter sprinter because, he had come out during a time coming out of high school, he didn't have a championships like 20 when he was injured in
2018, yeah.
2017, but 2018 he didn't have a championships and he was dominating through the year, but he didn't win his next gold medal after 2019.
Yeah. He
So
won the USA 100 in 2018.
he won the USA 100, yeah, in
Yeah.
2018, and he won
For,
the
for
he
as
won
a non-100 runner.
as a non-100 runner. But just thinking about the gold medals, right? Like Oblique now going into the next championships, sure, it's possible. Like I can see it both ways, where we look at Noah now as the guy who has multiple medals, but before 2022, or at least gold medals, before 2022, he didn't have that. So now we
Yeah.
can speak about him in hindsight.
Yeah, but
So
he also
yeah,
the thing is like his skill gap is proven by his 200s, which is, the other conversation. That goes back to in 2019, you knew this man was going to win another 200 eventually.
well,
You see what I'm saying?
true,
Like there was
but
nobody really thought that he was done when he
of
won
course not.
that
Of
one.
course,
You see
of
what I'm saying? So
course.
that's why, but hey, it's Oblique's time now, and that's what matters most. And anytime he goes into a race, he's going to get everybody else's best shot. So at the top half, it lived up to the hype. The back half
Yeah,
of the race, because I know we're gonna have to close. I know I was going through the different groups. Yeah, everybody else in that race who wasn't the four guys that we talked about, can he be with like a contender and a half, like a half contender? Like everybody else, they were contestants.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
I
and
mean,
I know that sounds
yeah.
rude. I said what I said. They were contestants. There was never a world in which I expected them to be on the podium.
No, I think that I on pure just like in the field, like let's see, like he false started, so that was out. Akani, obviously he finished last, at least after the false start, but like last place, so he drastically underperformed. But then you did have Gift from South Africa and Ajayi from Nigeria. It's like they were guys
They
who were
ran well.
truly. I'm happy to be here. Like they ran fast in the rounds, but I don't think anyone was like, oh, they're gonna get on the podium. I think they're like, okay, now my career starts. Where now, okay, I can potentially have spots in the future. Like just being honest, like they upset some guys to make it into the final, and hey, they're happy. They were satisfied with being in that final. Obviously, they want medals, but not to diminish them. But yeah, like I think things played out for the most part in terms of the medals in whatever combination people predicted, how we expected with the big three there.
Yeah. So well, hey, we will find out what the future of
Yeah.
the 100 holds, but we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer than anybody really wants to, and that's that.
My name is Anderson from The Final Leg.
And I'm Coach Rob from SCA Track and Field. And thank you for watching this segment from the finish line.
If you want to know what's really going on at the high school and college level, be sure to subscribe to Coach Rob Track and Field.
And if you want more content on the best track and field athletes in the world, be sure to subscribe to The Final Leg.
2025 World Championships are in the books, and things played out maybe how some expected, maybe how some didn't expect. But one thing that I think went to form and went to expectations was the men's 200, where Noah Lyles won another gold medal, his fourth gold medal, consecutive gold medal in the World Championships for that matter, against a very, very high quality field. And yes, he faced a good amount of competition, whether it's from Kenny B or, Brian Lavelle or Letsile Teboho or anybody, but he came out on top once again and re I guess reasserted, if not maintained his dominance in the event, continuing to prove why he is, in my opinion, the greatest sprinter of this current generation of sprinters. And as we look forward, again, there were some guys who were kind of close. I do wonder if there'll be anyone who will truly be able to challenge Noah. Obviously, when it comes to 200, we can even talk about like just the sprints in general. But yeah, I guess what do you think of just like Noah in this 200 and what we saw in Tokyo?
Hmm. First thing I'll say about it was that this one was important because it was about the narrative that was being rewritten. Because again, we're in the Noah Lyles era, and it's not an opinion, it's a fact. And the
Hmm.
fact is, no one else wins multiple gold medals in this era except him. Where the era started the moment Bolt walked off the track. Like that's when it started. So him winning this one, because a lot of people had Noah, but a lot of people didn't. And it depends on how they felt because we were trying to create all these different narratives around why he wouldn't get it. But I don't think we realized how talented he really was. And by that I mean we as like the collective track community just still doesn't get it because he's not Bolt. They don't realize he's the best thing you got since him. I think that's
Hmm.
the hard part to digest. I thought this championship was the one he wasn't supposed to get theoretically. Then, Otto Bolden said it back at USA's. If you don't get him now, you ain't gonna get him. And because he was down, things were going against him. It's kind of like Jordan in '97, like the flu game. If you don't get him now, you're not gonna get him because things are going against him. Like he has stuff making it harder, but you still couldn't get him because the gap between his talent and your talent is wide enough. I remember calling it before the race, and I said, I don't. I believe I said this on camera. I was like, I don't see Kenny Bednarik being able to go faster than 958, 959, 960, 961. I think that's it. I think that's the line.
Hmm.
Brian Lavelle, they kept trying to tell me he was evening up that line and that if he was on fresh legs and he was gonna. I'm sorry. I'm going to hold by my assessment that momentum carries you a whole lot more effectively than people realize. So you're not saving that much energy in the grand scheme of running that much faster. He ran an amazing race. He just had
Yeah,
amazing competitors at the top. Just to be clear, like I think he gave you what he has. I don't
of
think there was
course.
more in there from Brian Lavelle. Like I just don't think 1949 was a race he just messed up. I think he gave you a great race for Brian Lavelle right now. And then let's see, like I think even the form he'd been in all year, that's about as good as it's gonna get. If you ask
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
let's
I
just
mean,
keep it in the
even
buck. I
let's see,
think
like
that's about as
ran
good as it get.
he ran 19.6. It's not like he even ran slow. It just so happens that the entire race was
Oh yeah,
insanely fast.
for the
Yeah,
field that it was.
yeah,
But then, but Noah's gap, and again his semi to his final, where people were saying like, oh, because like I made comments about Ryan Lavelle going faster than he needed to. They're like, well, how come you're not saying that about? No? I'm like, because we've seen him win multiple times after a double.
hmm,
It's not the same. I have evidence, and in hindsight is 2020, but I saw this before it happened. Y'all can't run with him in the two. He doesn't lose 200 races. The only time he does is something has to go catastrophically wrong. That's just what it is. Name a time when Noah Lyles just showed up healthy and ready to run and lost to 200 since 2019.
actually, since 2019, like literally, it's crazy. He's the only times he had COVID at the
Healthy
Olympics.
and ready to run. Those
Yeah,
are the two.
had COVID at the Olympics last year, and then in 2021 he was dealing with mental health issues and all kinds of different things there. So like Noah Lyles, and I think that point of the idea. Shout out to Kenny B getting a silver. Shout out to Brian Lavelle running a personal best, getting the bronze. But I think one of the things that you noted, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, someone like Brian Lavelle, he's going to be able to get the gold because Noah Lyles is going to be doubling, so he's going to be tired, or Kenny B is going to be doubling, they're going to be tired." But they essentially showed up as if the 100 meters didn't happen. Like they showed up as if the 100 meters did not happen. It didn't matter. We're running the 200 basically fresh. and like you said, Noah Lyles has proven that he can do it time and time again. This is the third time that he's doubling, and at least obviously the second time he's getting the gold, but like another time that he's showing up and proving why he is the best. I think from here on moving forward, it's there's zero reason to bet against Noah Lyles. Now, I'll say I
Unless it's an
did
Olympic final, apparently.
I know. I mean, that's like the only time, right? But I will say, as the rounds progressed, I did think that Brian Lavelle. I didn't think he was going to beat Noah, but I thought Brian was going to push Noah to run a bit faster. But I think regardless, Noah proved that there's no one who's capable of truly stopping him when a title in the 200 specifically is on the line. This was arguably the fastest 200-meter like overall field that we've seen in a long, long time. Where Zarnell Hughes runs 19.7 and gets fifth place, right? Let's runs 19.6 and doesn't get on the podium, but Noah Lyles still is able to push ahead and like come out on top. Like there was no debate, no conversation, and I think it's hard. It's very hard for people to look at someone be so dominant that's not a Usain Bolt. That's not, I don't know, a Michael Johnson or something like that. It's almost like people want to find a way to say, oh, Noah shouldn't be this dominant in the 200. Noah shouldn't be winning these gold medals. But like at some point, we just have to look at the facts. And in my opinion, I see this different than the 100 because the 100, obviously, he's been a good, really, really good 100-meter sprinter for pretty much his entire career, but he just won his first gold in 2023. He's been winning golds in the 200 since 2019. He has some of the fastest all-time marks, throughout his entire career in the 200. You can't deny, what Noah Lyles has been able to do in this 200, and he just proved it once again, here in Tokyo.
Yeah, but now we move the question to how long is this going to continue? Because it's been going for a while.
It has.
And who's stopping him is the real question. Because yes, Brian Lavelle is a credible threat, and he runs the 100 and the 200. I mean, all that fresh legs talk is probably going to go out the door soon. I mean,
Oh yeah.
like just to clarify, because if they're only sending three from Jamaica, Akeem Blake, we're looking at you. You're the one who's going to have
Yeah.
to go find something. Otherwise, it's just going to be relay duty. So, I mean, granted, Jamaica get the wild card going into
Yeah.
the worlds for what that is. But you get the point. So yeah, so how long do we see this going? Because well, there's two groups. There's the guys who we just mentioned, and then in the 100, I think it also Shane Oblique, they're there.
Hmm.
But then there's the new group, the young kids who are coming up. So, I mean, I think that part is even more exciting conversation about do we believe that any of these young guys that are like still in the wings trying to figure it out, your Gouts, Jordan Anthony, Beyond Walaza, Christian Miller for that matter. Is there anything that we see coming to mess this up for the guys at the top?
Well, I think in the near term, no. Right? Like when I say near term, I'm looking at let's say through the next Olympics, through 2028. I think Noah will still continue. Actually, I'm going to push further. I'm going to say till 2029. I think Noah is still going to be the guy to beat, in the 200 specifically. The 100 is a little bit different, but the 200 specifically, Noah's still going to be the guy to beat. Even in my opinion, hypothetically, if he loses in 2027 at the next World Championships, I still think going into the Olympics the following year, Noah will still be the guy to beat because he has a proven track record, even as years go on. Now, an athlete like Brian Lavelle, he's now proven himself to say, okay, my first time in a world championship final or in a global final going up against these guys, I've been able to get on the podium. So, and I've been able to run very fast. 19.6 is very fast for someone making their first final. And, in my opinion, like it or not, like it or not, he managed the rounds pretty well. Like he ended off with a personal best. I can't ask for more, or you can't ask for more in that sense. So he'll be a threat to challenge Noah and then Kenny at the top as well. Gout is an interesting conversation because he's still very, very young. Like he's still insanely young. I think we underestimate how young. What he just turned 17 this year or something, or at the end of last year,
Yeah.
and he has yet to break 20 seconds in the 200, at least legally.
Legally,
He's
yeah.
done, yeah, he's done it wind aided, And I thought he would do it at these championships. Of course that didn't happen, but I think he's maybe on a longer time frame of like 2028, maybe, but more so like after that, 29, whatever it is, like 30, 31, et cetera, et cetera. That's where I see Gout Gout really entering the conversation as like, okay, I'm here to compete with the top guys. Even let's see like Timbo, he's still 22, 20, I think 22 years old. Like he's still very young
Yeah.
as
But
well.
see,
So yeah.
what you just said is why the whole they're young argument, I ain't buy it. And the reason I don't buy it is because we've seen young guys in the past. I mean, now he ain't gonna be running for a while, but Arian Knighton was young. He was young. We saw him, and we saw him show up and get what, fourth in an Olympic final. And he was
Both
17 last time I checked.
yeah, both
So
of them big finds, yeah.
so the thing is, gout gout, we have that. But see, because here's the thing, there's when you're a phenom, you get really close to your ceiling earlier than everybody else. That's just what it means to be a phenom.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? Like as a result, like okay, and if we talk about real people who are on the circuit, like Courtney Lindsay, Robert Gregory, they weren't that close to their ceiling at 16, 17.
Nah.
You see what I'm saying? Now, granted, they also have a cap on what their ceiling is, but they were further behind, and now they started making it look way more interesting. Like once time went by. So, though it matters is not how high you are right now, as much as when you're a phenom, but what is your actual ceiling? And we make assumptions when someone gets close to their ceiling early about what the ceiling is.
Yeah, of course,
And I
of
think
course.
that is where the phenom narrative gets dangerous. And that's what Gout Gout's still going to have to battle because people are assuming he's going to break the stratosphere. But the other thing is the hype. The hype is real. And then as a result, it's like, well, how long are people going to wait for him? And by people, I mean like the track community and the hype train. How long will they wait for him to kind of get to that next level? Because, okay, you made a semifinal. That happened now. If he doesn't make the final in 2027, then what? Are we going to say he's young again? You see what I'm saying? Like, will that apply? I think that will no longer be a valid excuse anymore. I think at that point he will be fully expected to be in the final at the bare minimum. You see what I'm saying? Like he has to take that next step. But hey, we started this with, Noah's domination. And when it comes to all those young guys, like one of them could break through. I mean, one of them could. It's just, well, Olave and Christian Miller, I don't see either of them as 200-meter threats. They just don't
Yeah,
have that in their report that they're
yeah.
ready to go to that level.
Well, I don't. I guess Walaza maybe I'm a question mark on because I can't discount him winning World U20s
And World University games.
and World University games. Like he has the resume. Obviously, I think at these champs he didn't compete and he was only going to do the 100. But who knows what his future might hold there. I will say about Gout Gout before we look at some of the others. Like it is. I do agree that all right. By the time we get to 2027 there's no more of the, or there shouldn't be any more of the, okay, he's young, even though he'll still be whatever, 19 or something like that. But he's essentially where Letsile Taboho is. Like Letsile had a medal by the time he was whatever. Even Ariane Knighton had a medal as a teenager. So there has to be some standard there. But I do think that with Gout Gout, he just has a longer time frame to work on things because he's not an American sprinter. Obviously, the hype will die down, but it like at that point doesn't even matter. He'll still continue to be a consistent athlete, whether he's running 19. He could run 19.9 for the next 3 years and not break that until years down the line. The thing that he has on his side is that at some point, Noah, Kenny, all these older guys, they're going to start to slow down, and Gout Gout is going to get older and be more, you know, find his kind of ceiling where it's like maybe he's at that point just consistently running 19.6 and the other guys are starting to slow down.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know, that could kind of unfold.
but what about the like to consider the mental toll that this sport takes on you because people trivialize it. They don't understand that. And I've said this before, I'll say it again, that the most fun you'll ever have in track and field is normally going to be competing on a quality NCAA Division One team that's actually going out there to win conference championships and beyond. That's actually the most fun you'll have in the sport. So when you are
Mhm.
a pro in this very lonely journey, traveling halfway around the world consistently to run races, these are business trips. These are not vacations. Like that
Yeah.
does take a toll on you. And you have to, so when we're talking about timelines, okay, can you imagine the monotony of doing the same thing for 5, 6 years straight, waiting for this big break, this big moment, this big explosion? Like there are
It's tough.
athletes who signed up for that. Think about some of the American athletes who tried to go pro before leaving high school, who we never really heard from again on the highest tier. And the reason why is because I think the grind came and got them. Because at first, it's like you're young and you're a phenom and there's excitement and there's all of that. And then after your first few trips, it's like, okay, we're getting on this plane again. Okay, we gotta go eat some strange food in this country again. We're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna lift in some random gym I ain't never been to. Like it starts to be like the grind comes to get you. And again, that's what separates the good from the great, the ones who can fall in love with the grind and kind of strike that chord. So, how they say some people don't travel well. That's why when we
Hmm.
keep talking about Noah's performance in championships, it's all that extra we can't see.
Yeah.
That's what's actually what you're witnessing in the moment. He figured out how to make sure that when it's time to go, he's ready to go. Everybody else be like, I think I'm ready. I believe I'm ready. He's one of the few people like, I know I'm ready. That's not gonna be a reason why this race is gonna go however it's gonna go. And again, we've watched him even in that 200 final. He wasn't winning off the turn. He
No.
wasn't winning at 140.
Yeah. Literally
And
halfway down the straight, it was like four guys.
And he said in his interview after the semi, like, I wanted to make a statement that you're not going to beat me off the turn. Well, guess what? He did get beat off the turn. And what I'm saying is he still won. So
Yep.
that means that he was able to handle having a script, ending up with the script getting thrown out and saying, but I still know what to do. Again, track and field, because people see running fast, it's just, it feels like people don't see the sport component. They think that you lift a bunch of weights, you work out real hard, do whatever substances or, supplements or whatever that you're allowed to do, and then you're fast. It's not just Drew and plyometrics. It's a sport. It's no different than when Kevin Durant has the deepest bag in the NBA because he has a counter for your counter for your counter. That's why he's better than you. Something goes off script, and he had a move for when it went off script. The race went off script, and Noah had a move for when it went off script. Other people were just trying to, you get to that point where you're trying to bring the line closer to you, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And
You
he
can argue
never had
that's
that moment.
yeah.
He was
You can argue
running to
that's
the
what it.
line.
I was gonna say that you can argue that's what Kenny had to do in a sense, where he had to respond and he pulled himself into that silver medal position, but no Noah wasn't in that. Noah like was able to adjust to whatever.
Yeah. So
So
it, so when we talk about who's got what it well can people take out here's the real question that we have to finish on. Can they beat Noah running at this level, or does he have to take a step back to like are we waiting for him to fall off, or is somebody going to actually come get him?
I think Noah, in my opinion, he has to take a step back for people to be able to catch up to him because and to the caveat that we started with, if he's healthy, if he's all those aspects, because we've seen we've essentially seen all the top guys face him in various different circumstances and be unable to actually take him down. Kenny Bednarek ran his fastest race ever in the championships and was only able to finish second place, right? Brian Lavelle, this is his first championships, and for all intents and purposes, he might have had the best progression through the rounds, running 19.8, 19.7, 19.6. But obviously he wasn't able to, to surpass Noah or Kenny. Let's see, like obviously, he said, he's dealt with various things through the year. He still ran 19.6. And yes, we've seen him run 19.4 last year, but I think Noah would still need to take a step back. Like Noah controls the 200 in a way that other athletes just aren't able to do. Now, this isn't to say that someone, I think Letsile is a good example where we've seen Letsile run 19.4 to win the gold medal last year. He could get back to that again in 2027, and that would push Noah, but I think Noah would be able to respond to that accordingly. Again, assuming health, assuming all those different things. So I think we're looking at Noah taking a step back before someone actually does, surpass him. So that's why I said, like, okay, Gout down the line, like 2031, or I mean, I know that he has like the Olympics in 2032 or something like that. That's going to be his target of like, okay, can I get the gold medal at that point, or can I get on the podium at that point?
That's a long
so it's
time
different.
from now, man. That's 7 years.
Well, that's why
I think the grind can come and get you when we make those assumptions. It's like
true.
it's so far away.
I agree.
Because you can only go one day at a time. Like Noah
100%.
couldn't be winning the 2024 games in the 100 in 2019 in his head.
Oh yeah,
He
of
had to
course.
still be running 2019 into 2020, get through that, get through 20. Like he had to get through so many moments to get to that moment where it's like you can't even talk about it in any realm of reality.
Yeah,
I think
of course.
maybe when you're 3 years away, even you can maybe start to think. But I would say, can you think about like kind of like a college career? But anything that's longer than a college career, it's pipe dream at that point.
Is a
To
dream.
me, like I can't even see that as like you can think that far down the line. It's just it's a dream. It's not a plan.
I will say last year at the Olympics, Letsile, when he won gold, he obviously he wanted to win gold, but he actually said that he didn't expect this to happen as fast as it did, where he expected Noah to continue to dominate. And then by the time they got to 2027, 2028, he thought he would be the guy to kind of take over the mantle. He was kind of looking long term in it. Obviously, he got the gold medal last year, but that's like, all right, someone who's maybe a little more grounded, and he had already won a medal the previous year in 2023. So he's able to say, all right, I've seen success. Now I'm going to look a little bit longer term. So I do agree, though. It's a long, long time for anyone, obviously in this case of Gout, to say, all right, 2032, that's going to be, I got to lock in and focus on that. Maybe he does something in between then. But when we're looking at Noah and when we're looking at the 200, for now, I think we'll need to see Noah take a step back for other guys to surpass him, because Noah's not stepping into the 200 without a fight. Like it's just not happening. Like and like we saw in this race, you can be at 140, 150 meters, and you could be side by side, and Noah's gonna find a way. So you know what I'm saying? It's
hey, man, look, if that's what it is, it sounds like we've got a whole bunch of challengers, and a handful of challengers, and then a bunch of people on the come up, but they've got a very long climb.
Yeah,
So,
he has some work to do for sure.
My name is Anderson from The Final Leg.
And I'm Coach Rob from SCA Track and Field. And thank you for watching this segment from The Finish Line.
If you want to know what's really going on at the high school and college level, be sure to subscribe to Coach Rob Track and Field.
And if you want more content on the best track and field athletes in the world, be sure to subscribe to The Final Leg.